कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय ये परमात्मने प्रणत क्लेश नाशाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Yeah. Rather than understand the word Krishna, the ultimate reality, you can call it with different names, but the Krishna refers to the most beautiful, most essential, most lovable, everything of the world most. And whichever faith that you come from, we can just call it divinity. Have full faith in it and go ahead and treat it. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Namo Te Paramatmane. Paramatma, the supreme reality, supreme consciousness. Pranata Nashaya, Klesha Nashaya. Klesha, the mental disturbed state, can be unhappy, can be seen, can be sadness. So any of those classes, Nashaya, get dissolved and lift you out of it. So to say, it is that faith, that surrendering attitude to the divinity, and that divinity you can even find in a deeper appreciation. It could be your guru, it could be your beloved, it could be your parents, it can be even dog and cat, because as we have learned in Advaita philosophy, that every being, Tattvam Asi, that I am, that thou art. So every being, that's the reason we have it as a prayer and also as a humble request that, oh Lord, lead me to thee, like the Sanskrit word of Prachodayat and Gayatri Mantra. Now, understanding a few words, and last, I think about 3-4 times, we have been discussing death. And each and every one of us, we feel kind of sorry. A lot of times that question was asked, that it is so difficult to understand that death is not really a death. Death is not really a death, but it is like changing the garb or changing the clothes. We read it, we understand many times, but when it comes to matter of actual happening, we definitely get disturbed. But what we learn last several times and even before, those learning are learning. we have learned, we have seen, we have not contemplated enough so that it has reached to our core, and that core has reaching to the core. It has not reached our core, meaning it has not reached to our experience. If it would have reached to our experience, then our feeling, our emotions can be drastically reduced, and we'll understand what this death means. From our Mahabharata history, Itihasa, we have learned an excellent character of Ganga. After giving birth to 7 children, mother herself having bore the pain for 9 months, on the first or the second day, she takes the child and puts it into the flowing water of a river. A lot of the people who read this history, they initially thought that this lady, the queen, the mother, cannot be mother. She must be rich, that she's taking lives of her own children. So it is. But after understanding it properly, what she knew that no other person knew, because she knew exactly, she being a great yogini, she could see the past, present, and future. So she knew what role she has to play and how she has to liberate all the 7 children after having a life of just one day. She knew it. She knew how those body of her children have to change the clothes. They know, she knew that whosoever are born, death is certain. And you may even call it, they are born to die. It may be 1 day or 100 years or 200 years. The rule has no exception. That is how the whole divine kingdom works. So having digested this, having gone through that siddhi, attainment, but then some of us can still say that this is still a story, this is still a knowledge. Yes, it is. But all of us, we know, I think most of us are at least 50 years old. And in this span of 50 years, we must have come across a couple of deaths. I would say minimum 5 deaths for sure. But then in that case, have we, at the time of funeral, started thinking in this pattern and digesting the fact that this is a God, this is a cloth to be changed. Today is the death of the person who died. Tomorrow can be I. So that reminder one has to continuously give. And at the same time, understanding the role that one has to play. And what I meant by role, I will now relate to the aspect of dharma. Dharma, the duty boundness. What as a being, human being, what your duties are. I will show you a picture a little later that another mother, this has been just a couple hundred years old, recent picture, that the recent story that a queen, when she found out that the enemies are approaching, that queen also had just 2 months old baby with her. But she knew that what is her responsibility. She ordered her attendant to keep her horse ready. So the horse came, and this mother, the queen, puts a 2 months old baby on the back of her sari. She wraps around on her back, and she takes her sword. She jumps out of the gallery, first floor gallery, straight onto the horse, and she starts heading toward the battlefield. Now, just understand, if we would have had our 2 months old baby, what we would have done. Even though her soldiers were there, army was to fight, but still, she had that blood of a warrior, and she wanted to protect her kingdom. Those of you know, the city's name is Jhansi. Jhansi Ki Rani Lakshmi Bai. I happened to find a small picture wherein you could see how she had tied that baby on her back. Point I'm making is, she knew that she may also well die, and she is also risking the life of the baby. But at the same time, she knew that this is the cloth to be changed, life to be changed, and whosoever are born to die. Doesn't mean that you will die immediately. So how to take the death? And this particular phenomena is also further explained in the 2 or 3 more slokas, which we will deal with today. And thereafter, we will switch to the different topic. Now, in this, before even I go, and last time too, I was told that our love toward the family, our beloved, that binds us. But how that love can be transformed into a divine love with a deeper sense of appreciation. Most of the time, if we truly digest that phenomenon, it is not the sadness of the person because of which the person left us, but we being selfish, we think, what will happen to me now? Who will take care of me? Even though your parents may be old, but you still think that they are the shelter, and they being the shelter now, who's gonna take care of me? who's going to ask me that, hey, Vijay, did you have your dinner, my son? That call giver is no more. Or if you do anything wrong, your wife or your children may say, but their saying is a lot different than what your mother or father would say. So you will still think that there is nobody to point out my mistake with whom I can respect. So still, really speaking, it's not the mother or father who left us, but we are looking for our own selfish connection. But if that selfish connection is looked with utmost gratitude, utmost reverence, utmost respect, then that love can be transformed into, you can call it a devotion or bhakti. And in that case, you will not feel so bad. In that case, I will once again would like to mention that in case that personality, mother, father, beloved, children, whosoever, teacher, guru, if they leave us, and if you consider that they are still living, they are living with the lessons that they taught you, with the promises that you still can hold on to it. That way, you can say that you are still son of your father, and the way your father wanted you to live, and if you follow those guidelines that way, you are devoted to your father, and your father is still alive. And that is, if we still go further, much further, and replace your father with the Supreme Being never dies, but we have also not ever seen. But not seeing is one thing, but having heard all the characteristics of Sat Chit Ananda, that consciousness, that Vedantic study. And if you start witnessing this Sat Chit Ananda, do you think any death can ever bother you? Think about it. And this Sat Chit Ananda, to witness this, you don't have to wait for somebody to die. Every single moment that trial is visible. You just open your eyes and you could see it. Then immediately realize it. It's not your eyes that they see. It's not that the mind that they see. But what is it with which your mind and your eyes and your intellect could see? And that is how every moment you can witness Sat Chit Ananda. And more, if you contemplate on every day for 4 or 5 minutes, then I'm pretty sure some point in time, the whole of the loss of loss because of that can be reduced. I'm not saying it may completely be dissolved. At some point in time, it may. I have met a couple of people of those nature that not even a drop of tears. uh, I have, and I might have shared in the past, but my spiritual mother, my spiritual guide, she became widow at the age of 25. She is no more now. But the point here to be learned out of her life, at much younger age, I learned from her. And I'm still learning. When she was 25, she became widow. And she had 4 children. The 4th one happened to be just 2 years old. And her own brother, understand, her own brother happened to be a billionaire in a big city. Now, which brother would let his own sister, a widow sister, to be left alone and not raise her children as well as herself? But her husband, the widow has given promise to her husband that our children, meaning her children, will not be raised by any other person but the mother alone. Can you even imagine the 25 years old widow? During that time, her husband had doctorate in Sanskrit. She had also high masters in Hindi and in Sanskrit. So whichever way, to cut the story short, all her children are so highly educated and so well placed. And if I can just mention, so that you would know how she alone could fulfill her husband's dream. The oldest daughter, she became doctorate in English literature, professor of English. Second daughter became doctorate in microbiology, running her own laboratory. The third daughter, who happened to be studying with me, she became doctorate in mathematics, breaking the university record. And the last one, that 2 years old boy, okay, he also completed his doctorate in chemical engineering, and he became, at the age of 34, number 2 man in the entire globe on this earth of a high pharmaceutical industry. So, whereby the point I'm making is, you and I, we can say it is a misery, but you see how that widow, my spiritual mother's devotion to her husband, respect, reverence to the husband, how she converted into bhakti. Bhakti is not necessarily, don't misunderstand, that is a Krishna Rama or Jesus or Buddha. No. You could see the divinity in any being, but it requires time. It requires devotion. It requires deeper commitment. And the word deeper commitment, and we'll come to know today in one of the sloka, the sloka is using the word dhruva. Dhruva means non-wavering commitment, firm, fixed. English word can be resolved. So start at least feeling that what word or the promise you have given, even though not on a legal paper, but what a promise you have given to somebody. And that promise you hold on to it. So all this, 10 of us today, make it a point that I'm going to contemplate upon the death as a garb to be changed, a cloth to be changed. And I will see that I will not cry. And even if you cry, you will not keep on crying for months to come and the years to come. And start living on the word or on the desire. Your beloved, your beloved, maybe parents, wife, child, children, guru, teacher, whosoever, you felt like that they are still with you and live your life that way. It's not only the commitment per se, but if you desire and if you become dhruva, dhruva is also the North Star, and that position, if you affirm in your mind, non-wavering commitment, understand, can we not even make a little commitment that we are learning from Sarthi? Long back also we have had that every hour on an hour basis, I will have 5 conscious breaths. How often we have learned this and how often we have heard this. And that result, if we can call it a result, is it not doable? It definitely is. But we fail to become sadhaka, the spiritual aspirant. Forget about the higher dimension of Bhagavad Gita and Upanishad and Advaita philosophy. Philosophy looks good, but then to implement the philosophy in our daily life. So with this, dear friend, I summarized what I wanted to say, and now I will take 2 or 3 slokas which they talk about it, whatever things what I told you just now. So let me take you to, but before that I take you and we go to the sloka, do you have any question? Feel free and don't spend too much time so that I would like to touch upon those slokas. Yes, Vijay? No question. Very good. Shekhar Bhai, Prafulla, Jagannath, Naina Ben, Maheen, Alicia, Mukesh, Chris.
2 weeks, but the couple of slokas you discussed 2 weeks ago about life and death, and that really summarizes how you should be nischal, how to be peaceful, and how to come to a ground. Somebody, I heard a video today, the guy was having a little big Geeta in his pocket. So every time I find some problem, I open the Geeta page and I find solution for myself. So amazing. Sasibai sent a video today. So Geeta is a resolute to keep us on the path. That's what I like to say.
So what Shekhar Bhai also suggested, a very good point, that at least make it a point to have a book of Bhagavad Gita, or you can have Bible, or you can have Dhammapada, okay? Whichever faith you have, that spiritual book, I will just flip open a page, read at least a paragraph. That's all. And that will be your guide. Anyhow, so Prafula, do you have anything to say? Any question? Okay, she said no. Jagannath Bindu?
No, Swamiji.
Thank you. Nainaben? Maheen?
No. No, thank you.
Okay, Mukesh.
Hari Om, Swamiji.
All right. And please remember, and not only you will remember, you will help me remember too, so that we all as a certain family can progress in our spiritual journey. Alcina? Chris?
No questions, Hari Om.
Hari Om, brother. And I'm going to answer to your lovely questions on
Oh, good.
Prana and Agni. Okay.
Very good discussion on Agni. I was delighted to see your depth diving into Agni. Very good.
Okay. Let me take you through the different slokas now. And if you don't see the screen, let me know. Do you see the different slide now? Hello?
Yes,
Yes.
Swamiji.
Yes.
Okay, good. So this slide we saw is to this explain, and once again, very briefly, what is the Paramatma, the sun, and how Paramatma gets reflected at our Sukshma Sarira. And this reflection, we call it Atma, we call it our individual life. Okay, that part we saw. And we also saw that as the outer body, the pale, warms out, then the Sukshma Sarira, in the form of the water, leaves the body, so that even though Paramatma is there, that is supreme reality or God, but it does not get chance to be reflected onto the water or at the Sukshma Sarira. And then the next one, when a newborn baby is born, baby pale, and in that the Sukshma Sarira is there, so the sun ever shining, Paramatma, the consciousness being ever present, get reflected at the Sukshma Sarira, and you see a baby boy or baby girl is born. This is how the whole phenomena works. Now going to, let me find this.
Dhruvam mrityu, dhruvam dhruvam.
Okay, well, it just happened to be Dhruva word appearing here. Let us hear it.
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येथे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Understanding Jatasya hi Dhruvo. Jatasya, meaning Jata, one who has taken birth or one who is born. Would you kindly turn your mic off, please? Thank you. So whosoever is born, what is Dhruva, what is fixed, is Mrityu, what we already talked about. So that is certain for one who has been born. Okay. Janma mrutasyata. And the birth is inevitable for one who has died. So life, death, death, life. Rebirth is inevitable for one who has died. Tasmat pariharyate natvam shochitu marhasi. What is it? Therefore, you should not lament over the inevitable. Inevitable, that word, this is, he says, apariharye. Apariharye, earth. So in this inevitable situation, what is your this death, life, death, birth phenomena? So do not lament, do not feel sorry for, do not cry over. The word dhruva, that is certain, fixed, unshakable, inevitable. So this word dhruva has many meanings. Let me take you to the next one. Dehi nityam avardyoyam sarvasya bharata tasman sarvani bhutani natvam shochitu marhasi. What does it say? Oh Arjun, the soul. Would you please turn your mic off? Appreciate, thank you. O Arjun, the soul that dwells within the body is immortal. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. Dehi nityam avardyo. Okay. Dehi nityam advayoyam. What? Want me to move faster? Huh? Tasman sarvani bhutani. Reading here, Dehi, the soul that dwells within the body, one who takes the Deha, so Dehi. Nityam, always, eternally, forever. Avartaya, immortal. Ayam, this way or this soul, Dehe, in the body, something that dwells in the body, Sarvasya, of everyone, Bharata, descendant of Bharat, Bharat or Bharat, Arjun, that the Tasman Therefore, Sarvani, for all Bhutani, Bhuta, living being, living entities, na, not, tvam, yours, socham, more, socha, to think over, repenting, ahasi, should. So one should not sochati to ahasi. So not to soch, to think, mourn, lament. So, O Arjuna, the soul that dwells within the body is immortal. Therefore, you should not mourn for anyone. As I was explaining earlier, all this loka, Bhagavan Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna using a different example via which he's telling that do not mourn over, and by which he says, if you mourn over, then you are going to deviate from your dharma, your duty. Your duty is to be a soldier and protect the civils. Let's see now the next one. Okay. Working in the state of consciousness, there is no loss or adverse result. Adverse result, something differently. Don't think that the person is going to hell, person is going to heaven, or what will happen. I have had several people coming to me. They thought that I had a power to see the future. And he says, Swamiji, can you tell me, has my father already acquired a new life? Or he is still wandering? Or what type of, where has he been born? Has he been born in animal kingdom or a human kingdom? Now just understand that not only he was holding on to his father while he was alive, but even after he is gone, he still wants to contemplate. And my point of saying was that no matter where he is and what he is, it is still a living being, it's still a Bhutani. So let's see how the sloka is.
नेहा विक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
Pratyavayo, no different. Na vidyate. Vidyate is not, okay? Na vidyate, it is not so. Swalpa apyasya api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Bhayat, in danger, in fear. So, working in the state of consciousness, there is no loss or adverse result. In which consciousness? In the consciousness that thinking that the soul is eternal. Soul never dies. And the garb or the cloth is changed. The body is changing. So that, in that state of consciousness, in that state of awareness, And even a little effort saves one from the great danger. What danger? Danger of suffering. And then we think that God is horrible. God gave me punishment. One thing we all have to bear in mind, God never gives punishment. God is just the love. It is the rule of law of karma. Accordingly, we get the different events in our life as the fruits of the karmas. So please, anytime the thought comes to you that God is punishing you, no, please take it out. Bear in mind, establish like Dhruva, unwavering resolve that God never punishes. Would you kindly, once again, by last request, that can you please turn off your microphone before I turn off everybody's. Now, O descendant of Kurus, the intellect of those who are on this path is resolute, and their aim is one-pointed. But the intellect of those who are irresolute is many branch. Many branch one. So to say, is not a proper translation, but anyhow. So he's referring to is Krishna is advising Arjuna that if you know, if you can tell, and if you have established the resolute or the resolution, unwavering, fully established principle of life and death, then nothing in the world can bother you. And that is, and their aim is one-pointed. No matter what they do, their mind is set and nothing in the world can disturb you. But the intellect of those who are irresolute, meaning those who are not firm, those who are not fully convicted that those who are born will die and those who die, they will be born. So that principle of birth and death and immortality of awareness, or the consciousness, if that thing is established, it is one-pointed. It is like a dhruva, so that they don't have to worry. But the others, their mind will waver and mind will suffer. And as a result, their life can be with some spells of unhappiness, sadness, cry, gloominess. Let us see what the sloka, chapter 2, stanza 41, talks about it.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्.
Instead of going into each word, we are trying to understand and we are trying to learn the essence of it. Of course, it is always good to go into the details with the grammar and padacheda, that means breaking a compound word. Like if you take the very first word, Vyavasaya Atmika, and Kuru Nandana, Nandana, the son or the daughter or the Praja family, and Kuru, the dynasty. So anyhow, instead of going into the depth of it, we will just look at the summary. Once again, what is need to be understood is one-pointedness. Time is still now, my dear friend, even though some of you have passed 50, but every time you hear of the death, and simultaneously also, let's not talk only about the death. Even if you hear about the new birth of grandchildren somewhere, not necessarily yours, even anybody else, don't guide other people and say, hey, don't celebrate your grandson's birthday. No, you worry about yourself. Don't talk to anybody else, but in your mind, just think as if he or she is your grandson. And at that time, just think this grandson, after X number of years, will also have to change the clothes and death may happen. So the birth and death and birth cycle, okay? And understand the word dhruva. Dhruva means unflickering, unwavering. And what is unwavering? Death and birth, birth and death. I may take if there is otherwise. No, it is almost the time. So we'll take this 244 next time onward. Okay, this is the queen that I was talking about, Queen of Jhansi, and you see, even though this doesn't look like 2 years old, but still, nevertheless, 2 years old child. So this was one picture I found, and the second picture is this. Here, it definitely looks like 2 months old baby. And you see, this is her horse, and her sword is ready, and she's ready to fight the battle. So this is where dharma comes into picture, dear friend. This is where the word dhruva comes into picture, resolved as to how one does understand dharma, her duty, and she's not afraid of the life. Not only her life, but even her son's life too. So with this, dear friend, let us have Shanti Pat, and we'll continue with that one sloka and further slokas. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. That's it. I thank you all for your lovely company. If you have any question, you may ask. If not, well,
I have a quick question, sir. In contrary, if we don't cry, does it mean we do not love that person?
no, no, definitely not. No,
We're not expressing that loss at that time?
no. Again, okay. I would like to answer it with two ways. Number one, whether you cry or you don't cry. Crying depends upon the state of your emotionality. Okay. That doesn't mean that you don't feel sorry for a while. And you may also not feel sorry because you have thoroughly understood that death and birth cycle. Some point in time, a person has to leave the body.
Yes.
And that could be even 200, 300 years or 20 years. That's not in our hand. And another important point that I think most of us, we feel that when I don't cry, what would my neighbors say? That Vijay didn't love his father? He even didn't cry. So for that, you recall, apply that statement, spirituality is a singular journey. Whether you are spiritual or not, whether a good, obedient son or not, it is no other person's lookout. What you feel at heart, that all that matters. Whether you did your duty or not, that all that matters.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, Maria.
Sonaji,
Yes, yeah.
yes. My understanding from the section that you were talking about, this woman who took her children after birth to the river, that I didn't understand that part, because to me, if from what I understood, if it's correct, she's playing the God as far as doing that, because we're born to live and die on the terms that God has given us. And to me, I didn't understand that logic.
She was aware of who her children were in the previous life and who her children will be in the next life. And she knew that they just have 1 day of life. And to facilitate that, she also knew that her father cannot do that, because father does not know the time period beyond a few years here and there. Most of us, we even don't know our full life. But this lady, Ganga, she being a accomplished lady, Siddhi, okay, so she knew what the children's past life were, and their present life was also going to be that of just one day. So she just facilitated.
So she had a superpower or something that beyond my understanding or our understanding as human beings.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you, Hariom.
All right, so Hariom to everybody, and looking forward to next Monday or next Wednesday, next Thursday, and maybe next Saturday also, being the first Saturday. And today, if you just wanted to chant Om Namah Shivaya, because today is considered to be Mahashivaratri. Okay. Hariom.
Hariom.